Wow, beautiful. How are you? Now you ask me how I am. I am happy. It's an affirmation. But let me start with giving you a little background of how I became the Chief Happiness Officer. It was back in 2009 at the height of the recession. To say things were tough then would be an understatement. People were losing their homes. They were losing their jobs. 401k became 101k. And at that time, the media was having a field day with us. They was letting us know how things was going to get really bad before it get worse. And they were even showing pictures of the Great Depressions and people lining up, and waiting for their turn to get soup. And I made up my mind right then and then that I didn't want to be part of that conversation. I didn't want to be part of the dialogue. I wanted to do something different. For every person that lost a job or that lost a home or that saw a reduction in their retirement, there was still something valuable left. And I wanted a way to shift their mind to that which is left. And I do a lot of meditation. And one day, I came out of meditation feeling really good. I was like a little kid in the candy store. And I realized I couldn't do anything about the global meltdown, but I could do something about one person. So I just went out, and I started asking very simple questions of anybody that would take some time and listen to me. And I asked, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you today? They gave me a number, and we just talked about happiness. It might be a minute or 2 or 3, and I started to notice as they lived, they were a little bit happier. And I started doing that. And one day, I was in Jack London Square in Oakland, a beautiful Sunday morning, and a young man was walking towards me, and this is a routine I've done over 500 times by now. So I said, hey, excuse me, can I ask you a quick question? And he said, no. And you guys laughed, but I wasn't laughing. He just was. I said, but it's a quick question. And he said, not really. I said, come on, what's going on? And he realized I wasn't going to give up. So he said, what is it? Make it really quick. And I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you right now? And he scored by far the lowest I have experienced. And I'm asking myself, this is a beautiful Sunday. Why would somebody rate themselves? This is self-assessment. Why would you rate yourself that low? So I said, can I share a quick story with you? And he said, no. I said, here we go again, And he said, but make it real quick because I got to go. So the first story that came to mind, I started sharing. And I noticed towards the end of the first story, he was calmed down a little bit. So I said, can I share one more? He didn't say yes or no. So I assumed it for a yes. So I shared one more, then 2 more, then 3 more. About 9 stories, and 30 minutes later, I felt like my job is done. So I reached out to shake his hand, and he won't let go. And he's holding my hand, and he said, what is your name? I said, as a general rule, I don't give my name. I made the decision very early on because I didn't want people thinking this guy was just being nice. He's going to come and try to sell us something, So I didn't give my name, but he said, not this time. He said, I didn't want to talk to you at first, and you've kept me here for almost 30 minutes. The least you can do is give me your name. And I thought that was very fair. But I also wanted my hand back. And so I gave him my name. He asked for the spelling. I spelled it for him, and he released my hand, and I went my way. And then the next day, I got a call from this young man. And he said, do you remember me? I said, absolutely, from Jack London Square. I said, but what I don't remember is giving you my number. And he said, I Google you. I said, okay, that rests that. And he said, I'm calling to say thank you. I said, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm the one that held you hostage. So I'm the one that's supposed to be grateful. What's going on here? And that's when he broke the news. That when I stopped him, he was on his way to commit suicide. And he hit me so hard. The only thing I can think of right then was, you need to go see a counselor. And he said, I've been seeing a counselor for 2 years and nothing has helped. And I'm just tired. I just want to end it. And I said, what happened? He said, all the crazy stories you were sharing, most of them I didn't understand because of your accent. I said, no, it's not my accent. You were rushing me, you know. And he said, I didn't. He said, but it resonated. All of those things were there, but I was suppressing them because I was in so much pain. And so I went back home. The suicide note I left for my family, I flipped it, and I started listing all the things I was thankful for and happy about. And I ended up with 29, starting from 0 where you met me. I was like, wow. I said, you're in a different frame of mind now. You should go see a different counselor. And he asked if I was a counselor. I said, no. And he said, thank you, and he hung up. Ladies and gentlemen, every single human being you and I encounter have an impact. Some of them might be something that you just even don't notice, and some might be life-changing. That was life-changing for me. And I went on to start an organization called the I Am Happy Project that is now in 64 cities in 19 countries with over 36,000 people involved with a mission to just focus on happiness. And folks, it's been exciting. So today, folks, I want to share with you happiness as a default position. When people come across me and they realize that I spread happiness, the reaction is always threefold. And it's different from people to people. Some of them says, oh, I'm happy most of the time. And others might say, how do you spread happiness? And yet, some will say the world really needs more happiness. And so for those of you that think you are happy most of the time, I want to share with you those times that you are not happy. Because those are the times you need to watch out for. And for those of you that are not happy at all, I have good news for you. And that is you can learn to be happy. Now, if you don't believe me, check it out with the U.S. Surgeon General. He said that the biggest illness that we all have is unhappiness. And we can learn to be happy. So I'm going to share with you some very simple strategies that will help you. The first one I call the 24-hour promise. And it's easy to remember, okay? When you wake up in the morning, promise yourself that you're going to be happy just for 24 hours. That's it. I'm not asking for a whole week or a whole month or a whole year. That's too much work. Just 24 hours. Now, here is why. I have a saying that do not allow the past or the future to rob you of the present. This is what we have. And if you can commit to be happy just 24 hours, you've made it. Now, here is the small trick. Just before you go to bed, renew the contract for another 24 hours. And you've just figured out a way to increase your happiness. And the second one, folks, I call the 3-minute rule. And this is a situation that helps you sustain your happiness. Because life is going to throw you a curve from time to time. Some might be very simple, like getting a driving ticket. And others might be losing your job. And yet, might be losing a loved one. Folks, if you are not prepared, if you have not trained yourself, you could be totally wiped out. Initially, it might be a situational depression. And if you don't know how to handle it, how to manage it, guess what? It could drag in to a critical depression. Folks, when I talk about happiness as a default position, I'm not saying you should not be human. If you feel sad, express it. If you feel hungry, show that. If you discuss about something, do that. Enjoy all the basic form of emotion. They are all adaptive emotion. The only thing I say is don't let it control your life. And you have to manage it. And you have to figure out a way to redirect your purpose. Folks, if you can do that, you will sustain high level of happiness. And finally, for those who ask me, how do you spread happiness? When you've interviewed over 1,000 people in 5 different continents on the subject of happiness, you know a thing or two about happiness. And then the first time, I've written 3 books, and my publisher said, hey, we got to write a book about this. I said, I don't even know what I'm doing. What do I write about? I said, but you can help me to put some tools together that we can share with people. So the first thing I came up with was the 10 ways to be happy. And so the 10 ways to be happy is a very simple 10 ways. And folks, the good thing about it is that these are what people told me, sitting on the corner street with a homeless person, talking to a person that just lost their job, going to the golf house and speak to someone, or the boardroom and speak to someone. It came down to this. And so far it's worked for the last 7 years. Then the next thing I do, folks, is the app. I'm sure you guys have heard it. There is an app for that, right? So we developed an app for spreading happiness. You can download it for free at the iTunes Store or the Google Play Store, and it have little things like the happiness scale. Folks, I'm hoping that one day the happiness scale will become a standard, just like you take your body temperature or you take your weight and stuff like that. You can go into the app and measure your happiness scale. And if you do it well enough and consistently enough, you'll be able to determine your happiest hour of the day and your happiest day of the week. How cool is that? And then it also allows you to keep your gratitude. Very simple. They said if you are thankful every time, the world, the universe, will bring more things for you to be thankful about. And then the last thing is the pin. And people always ask me, why am I wearing the I am happy pin? I said it's an affirmation. Number one, it reminds me that I'm the chief happiness officer, so that I am happy. Can you imagine you staring at me and I'm not happy, and you say, hey, what's the matter with this guy? He's supposed to be happy. And so I wear that thing to remind me, but it also reminds the person who is looking at it that they can be happy. And then the final thing, folks, is what I call the happiness exercise. Folks, if you want to set happiness as a default, you have to have something very simple you can do, and you can do at the spot of the moment. For me, it's just a simple exercise I have developed over time. And one of them is ho, ho, ha, ha, ha. Ho, ho, ha, ha, ha. Can you guys do it very quickly? Ho, ho, ha, ha, ha. Ho, ho, ha, ha, ha. It's silly. But guess what? Happiness is silly. It should be. That's why kids are more happy, because they do silly things. We need to learn from them. Okay? So basically, folks, if you take the 24-hour promise and you add it to the 3-minute rule, and then you add it to the pin and all the stuff you've learned, right? Self-compassion is crucial. You have to learn to forgive yourself, to know that you are human. Not to be too harsh on yourself. Some people beat themselves so hard, you almost want to call 911 for them. If you miss all of that with a little bit of practice, guess what? You have a recipe for happiness as a default position. The last thing people ask me is, how do you spread happiness? They ask me, the world needs more happiness. Folks, I want to encourage you to be the happiness, you, be the happiness the world needs. Because according to researchers from Harvard Medical School and the University of California in San Diego, they said when an individual is happy, a network reaction takes place that can be measured up to 3 degrees. An individual happiness triggers a chain reaction that not only benefits his friends, but his friends' friends and his friends' friends' friends. So if you, and I mean you, become that person, you learn a little bit, you focus on happiness, you become happy, guess what? It creates a ripple effect that makes the whole world a happier place. So, by the power vested in me, as a chief happiness officer, you now have happiness as a default position. Stay happy.